Vice President Harris and former President Donald Trump are both targeting battleground states right now. After sitting out the Labor Day weekend, Trump and his running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, are taking a divide-and-conquer approach this week. You see it on your screen. Trump is scheduled to address a Fraternal Order of Police event in Charlotte, North Carolina, Friday. Vance will be in Phoenix, Arizona tomorrow, and Thursday he heads to San Diego, California, not far from the Mexico border. Meantime, Vice President Harris heads to Portsmouth, New Hampshire tomorrow, and then she travels to Pittsburgh on Thursday. And allies of the Harris-Walz campaign held a reproductive rights rally in Palm Beach, Florida today ahead of a bus tour across the state. Voters there talked about why they think the issue is so important right now.
Do we have to fight the battle that was already fought and won? Like, this is ridiculous. It is so unfair.
Look at all these men over here yelling about reproductive rights.
Men.
Why do they have a say in this right now? These are our bodies. And it's health care.
We're here to support the Democratic Party and what they have to do. We're afraid of what would happen if the other party gets in power again. They didn't prove that they've done anything good for us.
CBS News campaign reporter Aaron Navarro is following the campaign for us from our D.C. bureau. I can imagine you better thank a union member to turn up on T-shirts, Harris-Walz T-shirts soon. But as far as the kickoff of the campaign this week, Harris is focusing on a reproductive rights bus tour. Tell us more about that strategy aspect of the campaign.
Yeah, that's going to be launched by her campaign starting today in Florida. You're going to see Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, one of the bigger names, at that first event as they look to put the pressure on President Trump and Republicans when it comes to abortion rights. I think they chose Florida in particular, given what Trump has said about how he would vote against that abortion ballot measure. And from listening to some of the event before hopping on here, they were talking about how you can't trust Trump when it comes to the issue of abortion. He has said he would commit federal funds to IVF. They said don't trust him when it comes to that. So they're looking to put pressure on him on an issue that really galvanizes their base, and they're expected to go from Florida back to Georgia and Savannah with this bus tour later this week.
Now, the Harris campaign and the Democratic National Committee are making big investments in down-ballot races. If we think back to why Biden dropped out, there are reports that Democrats were fearful that he was bringing down other Democrats down ballot. Now there's this investment apparently of $25 million in key races. What's the significance of that and the hopeful impact?
Well, $20 million of it is going specifically to congressional committees for House and Senate races. Yes, it helps Harris to have some money backing those competitive House races in swing states like Pennsylvania or Nevada. But in part, it's because they also have the money to be able to do this. They raised $540 million at least since she became the candidate, and they're investing in these down-ballot races. You're going to see Governor Tim Walz appear on mailers for gubernatorial campaigns. So they're really trying to help these down-ballot races, in part because a lot of the policies she has proposed rely on Democratic control of Congress. The margins, of course, very thin. They want to make sure that if she is elected to the White House, that she has a Democratic Congress to pair up with her.
And speaking of Governor Walz, Harris's running mate was pitching labor groups in Milwaukee yesterday, but there was some type of incident with his motorcade. What happened?
Yeah, we know that there was a car stop on the road. The motorcade kind of crashed into itself. Luckily, minor injuries. We saw Governor Tim Walz go to the hospital later that day to visit one of the staffers who had, I believe, a broken arm. But luckily, nothing too major.
All right, Aaron Navarro with the latest. We appreciate it. Thank you. Former President Donald Trump has a busy week of campaigning ahead. He will appear virtually at an event in Las Vegas, then deliver a speech in New York Thursday. He'll also hold a rally in Wisconsin Saturday. CBS News campaign reporter Jake Rosen is following the Trump campaign. He's also joining us from our D.C. bureau. Jake, Trump decided to skip Labor Day campaigning, apparently. Why is that? And talk to us about his strategy for the week.
Well, yes, that is true. Donald Trump did not have any official Labor Day campaign season kickoff events. He did have two events on Friday, one in D.C. speaking to that culturally conservative group Moms for Liberty, and he also held the rally in Pennsylvania about halfway between Harrisburg and Pittsburgh, a critical area that he and his campaign need to win. He'll be back in Pennsylvania tomorrow doing a town hall with Sean Hannity before hitting the trail, like you just said, and he's got a rally scheduled for Saturday in Wisconsin as well. So Trump taking a little bit of downtime, but as we know, he and Kamala Harris will both be hitting the trail in their different capacities, as we've kind of seen in between bus stops for Harris and kind of these smaller, more messaging-based events and some rallies for the former president.
Now, we've seen Trump try to distance himself from Project 2025 and its aspects of what could be a part of his administration. In the meantime, Trump is releasing a book today called Save America. Any specifics in it? Does it reveal anything about his plans?
Well, this is not necessarily a policy book. This is more of a economic opportunity for the former president, like those Trump sneakers, like the Trump NFTs and trading cards that we've seen the former president launch into as a business venture that he builds off of his campaign. This is a book with Trump touting his interactions with world leaders, talking about his messaging to the country after the Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt just over 5.5, 6 weeks ago. And it also includes some of what Donald Trump plans to do. But again, he said that as much as rallies in terms of the mass deportations and economic messaging that the former president wants, it's much more of a kind of photo op coffee table book.
And when we drill down on the specifics of what Trump wants to do, we know that in an interview with Fox News over the weekend, he said that he believed he had, quote, the right to interfere in the last presidential election. He was unequivocal about that. How is his campaign responding to that comment?
Well, they haven't put anything out officially. We've seen the Democrats obviously attack him for not just saying that, but his last 4 years of claiming that the election was rigged and stolen. Now, certainly Donald Trump, just like in 2016 and 2020, will be entitled to file legal challenges. But what he's not entitled to, obviously, as we've seen some of these legal cases roll back in states, but also federally, is pressure people into officially changing the election results falsely. We'll have to see exactly what happened, but this is just yet another example of the former president continuing to cast doubt on the November elections.
Yeah, just very jarring for him to say so clearly. Jake Rosen, thank you very much. And a quick programming note, CBS News will simulcast the first presidential debate between Vice President Harris and former President Donald Trump. This is the first time they meet face-to-face. It happens next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, and you can watch it right here on CBS News 24/7.